Hey, friends! I'm Jesse Fisco.
And I'm Ambry Fisco.
As founders of several successful businesses, we've experienced absolute joy and satisfaction working together to build our empire.
Our journey started off as a small business idea and has launched into a multi-million-dollar portfolio. It would have never been possible had Jesse and I not understood the key principles of making it all work together. But it has not been easy.
We found ourselves in the trenches trying to balance real life with business life while maintaining our strong commitment to creating an amazing marriage.
And we've emerged in a beautiful way together. This podcast was created to help you do what we've done, build an amazing marriage together while maintaining balance between life and business.
So here we are. You're listening to the Matrimonial Merger, a couple's guide to balancing life and business.
Let's get started.
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to the Matrimonial Merger. It's Jesse and Ambry here. We're super excited to bring you today's episode. But Ambry, before we get started, I feel like I haven't seen you all day. Like, even though I've been right next to you, I have not seen you.
You literally took like almost 3 hours off work to spend at a birthday party with me. What are you talking about?
Well, I feel like even though I was at that birthday party, I was literally chasing around our demon 1-year-old, cleaning up apple juice, watching him like try to sneak 3 cupcakes, and literally stealing candy from all of the 5+-year-olds. He is out of control.
We had a birthday party for our daughter who just turned 5, and she had a ton of fun. But yeah, I spent the majority of the time just trying to keep a hold of like the 22 kids that were there, and the equivalent of that is what Jesse did with our son Trey, because he is like 22 kids. Somehow.
Couple that with like, if you guys can't tell, I'm very hyper energetic person. And so these kids thrived on that and they picked that up. So I got hit in the head with a basketball. I took a shot to the face with a football. This little girl came and like punched my butt, which made me feel super uncomfortable. Oh, and then of course, like, because all these kids are at like waist level, you have to watch out if you're a man for like frailing arms and like, you know, you just don't want to take a cheap shot from these kids. Anyways, today was mayhem.
It was a crazy day. Anyone who's thrown a birthday party for their kids knows, like, no matter, I don't know, I could be naive, but I feel like no matter where you do it or what you do, it's crazy. And honestly, I think that we definitely allow Quincy to over-invite a lot. But I love it because she includes everybody and she wants their siblings there and she wants everyone to come and she wants this huge party, and that's just who she is, and I absolutely love that. And so I will embrace these crazy parties for as long as they last because someday she won't want them. Someday she'll be like, just let me go bowling with my friends. I don't need you. And I'll just be crying because she doesn't want me anymore.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
You're kind of a mama hen over there.
Yes, but it's fun. It's fun. We're going to enjoy it. And we made it through this crazy day. I think because of all the sugar and stuff that they had today, bedtime was exciting. And it's now almost 9:00 and we are going to record this podcast.
We're going to do it.
And because of the crazy day we've had, I may or may not have cracked open an energy drink, which I do not drink ever, right before this. So, congratulations.
I may have had a few sips, so I'm like already you've hyped, ready to freaking go. You guys, this is coming full throttle.
This is a great topic today. We're really, really excited about. Jesse, do you want to introduce?
Yeah, absolutely. So the topic here is, it is all about you.
Me?
You. 100%.
You.
Have you like told yourself that recently? I did, because we've been like, talking about this episode. And so the last couple of days I'm like, it is all about me. Like, give me that bread, right?
Okay, calm down.
All right. Well, it is all about me in some aspects. But
what does that mean?
Good question. I mean, for me, as we're, thinking about this and like preparing for this episode, it's because I feel like I'm stuck in like a spinning circle, and I'm using all of my time, energy, efforts to keep the essential peace and happiness of everyone in this family, right? I do that every single day. You do that
I'm
sure our listeners do that.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm sure all of you can
I'm sure
relate to,
every one of you can go
just draining yourself, trying to keep the peace in your family and maintain those relationships. And the reason that we want to talk about why it's all about you is like you are you in that relationship. Like you need to be you, and your family, your spouse, that's what they want is you. However, when you are neglecting your needs, even some of the most basic human needs, when you neglect those things, you're not really you. You're not giving them your best self. You're not giving them the person that they love and deserve. And so while it may sound pretty selfish to say, hey, it's all about you, this is really like in the most selfless way. Like your family wants you and your best self, so give it to them. And, how can we do that without taking care of ourselves? So what does it look like, Jesse, when you are neglecting those needs and when you are not making it about you?
Give me the mic, right? Hey, so when I neglect my basic needs, like my health begins to deteriorate. Back pain, I get sick really, really easy. Like there's a situation where I'll just like start throwing up and I'm done, right? I need 24 hours to recoup.
It's true.
Other stuff that happens is like my health stops, right? Like I'm not eating good. I'm so focused on helping other people. I go from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 p.m. at night. And then I finally sit down and go, I'm freaking hungry. And guess what I'm pounding down? Carbohydrates, hamburgers, whatever, just to like feel full and feel like I'm getting some sort of nutrients. And because of that, and I'm eating like garbage, my pants start to not fit. Literally, and then the muffin top happens, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so just saggy and gross. I'm unattracted. I'll start saying things like, my gosh, I'm a beached whale. Or look at that porpoise walking on by as I look in a mirror.
It's really rude.
It's rude. And although I don't want that, I start to really start to feel down on myself,
and that's
right?
Powerful for the unconscious mind. Like any kind of comment like that is.
Yeah. You don't tell yourself that kind of negativity. Yeah. Anyways, other things to kind of just really get, dramatic, because that's what I'm good at. Like your pants start to have holes in the legs because your legs rub together frequently, you lack drive and motivation. So you're just kind of sitting there on Facebook, right? Just looking, doing nothing, literally becoming a zombie. You might even be eating or drinking, for a lack of a better term, a lot of caffeinated stuff, to give you some sort of mortality. And then my favorite, of course, is every night that I feel way unmotivated, way fat and lazy, I'm using my belly as a buffet table for that good old Ben and Jerry's delicious ice cream. Anyways, long story short.
What a mental image there.
Oh my gosh.
Make sure, though, if you do get that Ben and Jerry's ice cream while you're watching Netflix or whatever, which flavor is it, Jesse?
I can't even remember. I just know. I look at it and go, that's it. Right?
I'm pretty, is it the Tonight Dough? No, is that it?
I don't know. I don't even know.
Brush up.
Anyways.
This is a good thing. That means we're not as addicted as we used to be.
Right, as we used to be. You would have told me, I would have been unconsciously telling you this is it.
But okay, so let's pause for a minute. So you have needs. You love going to play basketball. You want to eat healthy and take care of your body, right? These are all things that Jesse wants.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay. But as you kind of put your needs and your priorities off, it's like a domino effect. Would you say that's correct?
Yeah.
You didn't get your exercise in or your basketball, those things that kind of just keep your rhythm rolling. And so then because of that, you've kind of just said, what the heck? And now you're just going to eat an entire tub of Ben & Jerry's tonight because, you've lost that care for yourself in a sense.
I feel in a way too, it's finally something for me. And you get that endorphin
even though it's not
rush.
Really supporting what you want or your priorities. You're still feeling you're kind of getting that I don't know. That's an interesting
kind of that endorphin of yes, I finally get this time to sit away from the kids in peace and quiet, turn on some movie I'm really not interested in because I'm like a Facebook zombie, right? But I'm sitting there going, finally something for me. But once again, like you said, it's not aligned with my goals. It's not what I truly want. I'm just feeling a void.
Not to say that like having ice cream and treating yourself
Sure.
is bad. That's not what I'm getting at. Just like, you know, the mental image you were portraying there was like, you know, you just don't care anymore. Like you just kind of let yourself go to the point that, like you said, your belly became what? Like
a buffet table. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Ben and Jerry's crumble cookie.
I can't stop thinking about that.
It's kind of nasty actually. Cause like, yeah, I don't know. There's a thousand things we could use as a better example, but I really want you guys to get the feel of like how nasty, right?
So
like,
you're letting your needs slip. You are literally becoming like a robot.
Yeah.
To like yourself, to your family, rather than what you should be, which is like an integral part of your family. So you don't even like know what your emotional state is. Like,
I was going to say like my emotional state, like it's up and down too, right? Like one minute I'm happy dad and I'm running around like dancing to, you know, whatever is the latest Disney theme song. And then the next minute, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs because our son, the demon, is dumping his water all over the floor. When really, like, that's not fair to him. He's 1 year old, right? Yeah. So, like, my emotional state is like Jekyll or Hyde.
So, what does that do to like your family relationships? Like, I mean, I feel like that causes your family to resent or avoid you in certain situations because, you know, like you said, Jekyll and Hyde, who are you, like, what version are you going to get? What version of Ambry is going to happen in this situation? Is she, you know, is she in check or is she, you know?
Oh, and I feel like too, like one thing I hate is yelling, right? Like I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. So yelling always like made me feel just awful. And so when I find myself yelling, I'm not really like, that's not me. And I think that that's when I realize, oh man, this is not who I am or who I want to be, right?
Yeah.
So it goes back to that, like, what I truly want, if it's all about me, I'm not living that. It's not. And it's awful, right? And you feel gross and you feel frustrated with yourself. And then you also, you know, find yourself going, I'm a terrible parent too. Like a bunch of negativity is floating around in your brain because you're not taking care of what you need.
And it's causing you to be more impatient, more short, more irritable. And all those things are really toxic and negative for, you know, family relationships, spouse relationships. And I think that, so, you know, what this looks like when you're not taking care of yourself, sometimes it actually becomes like a really detrimental thing for your family, for your relationships. You're not able to manage them anymore.
Right. And I think we get like jaded in a sense because in our minds we're like, hey, I am really, really trying for my family.
Oh, for sure.
I'm giving it my all. Like the fact that I'm like literally dragging my dead corpse across the floor to like make a quesadilla for my child. I'm giving it my all. But really, like, you're better off being in bed if you're at that point.
That's a really good point. Like,
right?
Yeah, because your intentions are there. Like you have the intentions. Your intentions are there. And you want to be a happy, effective, amazing mom, dad, husband, wife. Like that is what you want. But your intentions are clearly not like...
Well, your intentions are there, but your actions suck. Right? Like...
There you go.
You suck when it comes to delivering what your intentions are.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that like in a rude way, like, but that's how I feel. Like, oh, my intentions...
You don't mince words.
I'm going to make this quesadilla and it's going to be the best dang quesadilla ever. And then meanwhile, I'm like, here you go. And I throw it across the table. Dad, I need ranch. Oh, freaking heck, get the ranch out, right? And like before I know it, it becomes like, an emotional...
That is a really good analogy because you want to serve your daughter like the best meal with the ranch to dip her quesadilla in and, you know, the vegetables on the side and all those things. But you have, you know, neglected what you need so much that day or that week or whatever, to the point that you're just throwing it in front of them and just frustrated, even though you don't want to be that way.
Well, and then you're like a ticking time bomb too, right? Like what happens if she goes, well, I didn't want this kind of cheese. And you're like, it all freaking tastes the same. What, like, are you serious right now? This cheese is fine. Like, this is the same cheese you had yesterday, right? Here I am, like, freaking out over cheese. It must be the caffeine tonight. But anyways.
Okay.
You're like at that point, though, like, one small thing can set you off, right? You've let yourself get to that point. We've all been there.
Every day.
No one likes it.
And I mean, like, some of these things are very normal. And, like, you know, we have to learn to take a deep breath and pull the ranch out of the fridge, and it's okay. But I think that like our stress management and our conflict management goes downhill when we are not taking care of our needs. Like our mindset's not there.
Right.
It's not.
It kind of reminds me of a couple weeks ago. It just reminds me of this situation, and this is kind of off the cuff a little bit, but your family came to visit us from Nashville, and they drove. 4 of them in the car. You have a large family, Ambry.
30-hour drive.
It was a 30-hour drive from Nashville. In 2020, I made that drive twice in 2 weeks, and
oh, bless your heart.
It was crazy. And not to mention the fact that there are a bunch of crazies on the road. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not fun. And then you got the suicidal deer or elk that like run across the street or literally sit there in the road and looking at you like, duh. Like, come on, man, get out of the freaking road, right?
Road trips in general are just, you know,
they're
stress,
awful,
mayhem.
They're awful,
crazy, and not to mention like, you know, in this situation, my family was coming for a 2-week period, which is a long time to prepare to be gone and away from home, and you know, my dad was brought his work. He worked remotely for a week while he was here, and you know, it's hard being out of your element. That's for sure.
It's already hard going on vacation, right? And not knowing what to expect. Like you're starting to stress out. Your body is stressing out. So like certain things are not functioning the way that you would want them to function, right? I read a study, Ambry, that like, not to get too crazy, but like when you're stressed out or you're in someone else's house, your sphincter literally tightens up and you cannot poop.
That is true. And that's awful.
And I'm sorry to like get kind of like gross here, and I don't know the perfect
normal human function. It's okay.
I guess the medical term is defecate, right? Like just to sound a little bit more better here. Like
that sounds better.
Anyways, like your body goes through that stress. There's already stress. You're out of your norm.
Your body's not working the way it should. Like, and let's be honest, living out of suitcases is literally awful. I loathe it. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
Right.
It's hard. Nothing's organized. Nothing's where you want it to be or used to it being. And
the best vacation would be in like a 1,200 square foot master suite on a cruise ship where everything's done for you perfectly. And then people are there just to like literally take care of whatever you want. That'd be fantastic. So we should probably create a business like that at some point.
Wow.
Anyways, back to our little situation here. So they come into town, 30-hour drive, and Ambry's dad struggles with back pain. Really bad. Horrible back pain. He also has, what is it, tinnitus?
Tinnitus, yeah.
Which is like a constant ringing in the ear, which I couldn't imagine. Imagine just sitting there and hearing like a little mosquito. Like, the freak is that, right? Anyways, okay, you could stop.
Okay.
Anyways.
Really, though, like, and he handles it all so amazingly, but sleep is hard for him already. Like, sleep is so hard for him. And so, like, traveling and being out of your element just makes sleep that much more of a struggle for him. Well, I think that's where you're going with this.
And then we're in Utah, too. So Utah is an hour behind. So your sleep schedule's thrown off, too. Yes. Oh, my gosh. Okay, so anyways, halfway through this trip, they get here on Saturday. It's now like Wednesday, and Steve, Ambry's dad, comes down, and he is like looking like a zombie. Like he looks like he needs sleep. And I have a lot of respect for Steve, so I won't get like too theatrical or dramatic, but he looked like he needed some help. And so I was just looking at him, and I was like, yo, you need to take a nap. And, you know, clearly sleep was the only thing he needed. And I just said, why? Like, why? Why aren't you sleeping? And he hit me like literally like a Mike Tyson like uppercut with this. And it like, boom, here's our next episode. Ambry, we need to talk about this. And what he said was like, I feel like I need to be the last one to bed. I also feel like I'm being a party pooper or unsupportive because I'm missing the activities. I'm not participating in the games. I feel like I'm going to miss out sometimes. And honestly, I feel like I'm going to ruin the fun for everyone by not being there. And I was just like, whoa.
Do you feel like as a dad though, like for you,
all
putting
of the
yourself
above
in his shoes? I mean, like I feel as a dad or mom, like, you know, when you're kind of like that patriarch or matriarch of the situation, like you feel like you need to show up. You feel like you need to, you know, oversee and just be there. Like it's not even like you have to or need to per se, but like you kind of just feel this like pull and need to just kind of watch over and take care and make sure everyone's good and make sure everyone else gets to bed and has their needs taken care of, you know.
Kind of like that birthday party with 22 kids. Trying to take care of 22 kids, chase the demon.
Okay, you gotta stop calling him the demon. That makes me so sad. Trey,
I like
if
it.
you listen to this someday, your mom does not think you're a demon.
The demon.
I love you.
The
You're
demon.
A sweetheart.
He awakes at 7:30 and does not sleep until 7:30. The demon.
He sleeps so
I love
good.
it. No, anyways.
Anyways,
So,
okay, but you said that, all right, let's go back to where we were. Where were we?
He was just telling me, like, I feel like I'm going to miss out. And that was, for me, that really, really hit me because that resonated really well, too. Like, the fact that I've been there before. Like, I have felt that. That is real.
And the problem with that in this specific situation is, like, all of the people, like, if keeping him from going to sleep, if you will, like, we're all adults, we're all, you know, making our own decision to stay up late. We're all kind of like running an adrenaline of we haven't seen each other. We want to stay up and visit. We want to like laugh. And it's just, you just stay up late when you're with family. And my dad specifically in this situation is still working remotely and having to get up early and get his day going. And, you know, he already struggles with sleep. And so going to bed even later than he should or maybe would normally is putting so much strain on his body and his ability to be what he wants to be. And this is very real. I mean, I think that all of us still have probably dealt with situations like this or comparable to this. Like Jesse, I know you can attest to, like, there have been times that you and I are like feel bad when it's like
taking a nap,
taking a nap, or like, maybe you really want to go play basketball on a certain night, but you're just not sure, like, if, you know, that's going to work with everyone else's schedule, or if, you know, you think about everything.
Well, and you have meetings on Tuesday nights, and then, so you're gone on Tuesday nights, I'm putting the kids to bed, but then, like, what happens on Thursday if someone reaches out, one of your friends, and says, hey, come with me, like, let's do this, and once again, it's your husband or spouse, whoever it is putting the kids to bed again. Well, like, you deserve that.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you shouldn't feel guilty for, like, this is a meeting. This is like something set in stone. This other event is something you truly want to do. You should not feel bad. Right? Sure. But you do.
It's all about that, like, communication and respecting and understanding each other's needs. That could be, you know, a whole nother 10 episodes.
Yeah, we could go crazy with that.
But anyways, going back to the story you were sharing about my dad. So it's like, you know, you feel like you need to be there. You feel like you are going to ruin the fun for everyone else if you go to bed early, or if you say, hey. And one thing about this situation is that daily scripture study is extremely important to him and to my mom, and they do not miss a day. Like, all growing up, like, we did not miss a day. And so, like, one particular night, it's like everyone's just kind of talking and hanging out, and my mom and dad start to initiate scripture study, and then it just kind of gets derailed and everyone's just talking and laughing. And, like, that's the last thing that my dad wanted to get done so that before he could just call it a night and go to bed. And, you know, it got drug on over an hour later than it needed to, just because everyone's just laughing and hanging out and carrying on. And, you know, nothing wrong with that. But looking back, I'm going, man, my dad should have been like, all right, you guys, this is great. I love you, but we've got to do scripture study, and then you guys can keep talking and laughing and having fun while I go to bed. Yeah. But sometimes that's hard to do. Like, it's hard to sometimes say, like, this is what I need, and prioritize it, and, you know, and just make it known. And I don't know. It's hard.
So we had this great conversation. Everything we talked about on this podcast, I feel like was relayed to him. And it was such a great conversation. I called Ambry and I was like, hey, Ambry, this is our next episode. There are people like Steve, like us that need to hear this episode right now. Like, they need to hear this.
It was eye-opening for us too, of like, holy cow, like when we don't take care of our needs, it really does affect our ability to show up as our best self for those that we love.
Exactly.
Who deserve our best self.
Exactly. And so, you know, to kind of finish it off, I committed him. Hey, Steve, we're going to go to bed tonight at 9:00. This is it. 8:50 starts creeping around. Hey, Steve, it's 8:50. Why aren't you brushing your teeth? Hey, Steve, 8:59. You're still down here in the kitchen and you're still in your clothes. Why aren't you going to bed? Steve, you need to go to bed. Everyone, and I remember like stopping the entire room. Everyone listen right now. Steve needs to go to bed.
Sometimes it does take everyone being on board with the things that you need. Like, you need people sometimes helping and pushing you to like make sure you are accountable for what you need. But as funny as that sounds, like
what was funny though is like no matter all the effort, he still went to bed at like 11:30, I think.
I don't remember.
And he also went to bed at like 11:30 again on Thursday.
I think there had to have been nights he probably didn't go to bed till like after midnight, 2 in the morning. Like, yeah.
And then ultimately on Friday morning, unfortunately, he woke up feeling really, really sick. Like lack of energy, just complete exhaustion.
He couldn't even stand up. Like, feeling like he's going to pass out. Like,
and really did he end up throwing up? I can't remember.
I don't know. He was just extremely nauseous and not well. But,
he was doing bad.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think really,
and he got like a COVID test. He didn't have COVID.
Yeah.
So he was sick. But I mean, I think that like that exhaustion and that just like push to the limits, like that catches up to you and your body's finally like, nope, can't do this anymore.
Yeah. And I think ultimately that, like you said, it caught up to him and it was just a bad situation. And it could have, and it almost did, jeopardize the rest of their trip. They had another week left to go. And he was not doing hot. Like, we were all like, oh my gosh, are we going to go to this family cabin the next week? Like, are they going to leave on time like when they were planning? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like this awkward, like, oh man. And I think the thing that was like the most interesting is he wasn't even at our house sick. He was at his sister's house sick, which is even more of a difficult spot to be sick because you don't have the things you brought, your necessities. Like, you're kind of just like, oh man, now I'm at someone else's house. At least
he had a quiet house without kids like running around.
Yeah, at least he had that.
He did have a quiet place where he could sleep, and his sister is amazing and took really good care of him. And I mean, like, for being sick, not at your home, he had a great supporting cast. As he could, but exactly. It really is no fun to be sick and not in the comfort of your own home in general. But I mean, it goes to show that our bodies and our minds, like, we need that care and that stress relief. And if we don't do that, I mean, in this case, it's something as basic as sleep. Like, we all need sleep. That's not even like a question. Or
please sleep.
Yeah, I want to go to sleep right now. It's almost 9:30. I'm not a night owl though. Like 11 o'clock for us is probably like 2 a.m. to some people.
Right.
But our bodies, if we don't, then they sometimes force us to by, making us not feel so good.
Well, and I think of it too, like Mentos and Coke, right? Like, okay, you put a tiny bit of Mento in the Coke, nothing is going to really happen. It might fizzle a little bit. You dump the whole thing of Mentos in there, and then all of a sudden it erupts. And you don't want to be like that. You don't want to erupt at your kids or anything. I think the hard part is it's really easy to recognize, but it becomes a little bit harder to like actually solve these problems. Kind of like Steve's case, like Wednesday, like I'm literally announcing, like silencing the entire room and saying Steve needs to go to bed, and he still went to bed late. I think that for sometimes it's just really, really hard to solve it. Yeah. And I think the biggest thing really is coming down to asking yourself, why do I feel this guilty for something for myself? Like, start to acknowledge it and really start to understand, what do you want? Is it going to the gym? Is it physical health? Is it a new article of clothing? Is it a new belt? What is it that you truly want that makes you happy? Never mind I really need this new belt, but man, you know what? I should probably buy my kids a pair of shoes instead, because they're starting to outgrow their shoes. No, buy yourself the belt. Like, those shoes will come when they come, but like, you need to take care of them. Yeah, buy them both. Figure it out, because if you don't take care of yourself, then things start to happen, and you start to become like that Mentos and Coke situation.
I think it's important to note that, like anything, I mean, this can be, like, obviously it can be taken excessive or too far, right? Like, any good thing can become a negative thing. So, like, it's not to say that, it needs to be excessive. Like, one of my outlets is working out every day. Like, right now, where I am in my life, like, that workout every day is mental, emotional clarity. Like, it is so good for me. And, in turn, it's good for my family because I am happier. I'm just a better version of myself when I'm getting, that little bit of what I need. So, like, yeah, you could say that it's a selfish need that I want to go to the gym every day, but also, like, it is serving my family well for me to be the best version of myself. But it's not to say that, like, I need to go, in my case, spend 5 hours at the gym every day, or that I need to go in the morning and then again at night after the kids are in bed or whatever. Like, for me, I'm just kind of taking it to an extreme. Like, that would, in my opinion, become a more unhealthy or negative effect on our family. But, by just taking care of the needs and making it work for us, like in our case, for us, that looks like, we get up in the morning and take the kids to the gym with me, and they get to go play for an hour in the daycare at the gym, and they love that, and they get to have some, like, energy release and social time with other kids, and so it's a positive thing for them. And while they're doing that, I get to work out and have, an hour to myself, something that I love to do. And then afterwards we, come home and continue our day. Jesse makes time to go play basketball a few times a week and get, some stress out. And it's a really healthy, positive thing that works perfectly around, our life and our schedule, but I think you could agree, Jesse, if you were gone playing basketball 8 hours every day or something ridiculous like that. If you're in the NBA, maybe,
Right. That'd be my job.
Yeah.
But no, that would not be healthy.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, don't take this to the extreme, right? Like, I'm not saying that we need to always be doing something for ourselves every minute of every day, because work, family, relationships, these are all so important. What I am saying is that take time to do something that releases your stress and that fills your cup, that helps you feel prepared to tackle the demands of the day and be the best person that you can be for your spouse and for your family, for your kids, for everyone in your life. Every day we spend all day trying to meet needs of other people, and that's such a good and beautiful thing. But, you imagine if you have a cup with water in it, if that cup is empty and there's no water, you can't go around pouring water into other people's cups. Other people might pour water into your cup and that helps, but, you've got to go fill your cup in order to go around and pour water in your spouse's cup, in your kids' cups. And if there's no water in yours, you're no good for doing that. And so really, like, your family's not getting what they need from you if you aren't filling your cup with water.
And honestly too, let's be very blunt. It needs to be fresh water. Right? It needs to be fresh, because if you're dumping
filter, the purest of water.
If you're dumping stagnant water in my cup, I don't even want to be around you anyways.
That's hilarious.
Right? Like, and so
okay, so what do you mean by fresh water versus stagnant water?
Well, like, if your water is stagnant, right? It's been sitting there.
Like if it's petty water,
like petty water, or if it's unholy water, like whatever the case. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, if your water is stagnant because you haven't shared and you haven't given and you focus too much on yourself and your water hasn't been like replenished with other things and like a good sense of like brightness per se. If it's stagnant water, no one likes to drink the water. It sits on the nightstand 2 days later. Like most of the time you dump it. So what I'm saying is it needs to be consistent, right? Consistent flow.
Consistency.
So
alignment with your intentions and your actions consistently. I love it.
Right? And I think like there's so many different things we can tell you. Like one of the things I'd love to just like invite you all to do right now is write down things you need, not what your family needs, not what your sister or your mom or your neighbor needs. What do you need? Like write those down. And don't just say mental note, like, oh, I'm going to tell myself in my brain. No, don't tell yourself in your brain.
Open up your notes app on your phone.
Write it
Pull
down.
out your journal, whatever you use.
There's power in writing it, right? And then write it down. Because you might determine that some of these things don't actually make you happy, right? Or if you write happiness down, well, come on, happiness is a state. It's not. It's not an actual tangible thing.
These things you're doing create that happiness, and that's important. Like making note of what that is that you want or need, because I think that, like in my case, just you get married, you start building a family, and then when you add kids to the mix, like it takes even more of your time and energy, and it's so fulfilling in so many ways. But for me, like in the last several months, Jesse and I have really taken some time to think about like what it is that we want and what makes us who we are. And that's been huge for me, because I feel like in some cases I've kind of stared at the wall and I'm like, I don't know what I want. Like that's a problem, because then how am I supposed to take care of myself and be the best version of myself if I don't even know what I want or what it is that I need? You have to identify those things that help you be the best version of yourself and help you just stress release. And like, I don't know, maybe that's not hard for some people, but I feel like for me, like it actually can be a challenge to identify and understand like what makes me tick and what makes me me, because I focus so much of my energy and emotion on my children and with Jesse, and that's so important. But, I need to understand myself and what I need as well. So do that.
If you don't have a map, you can't get to your destination, right? So if you don't know what you truly want and you're over there like crying because you're feeling like bogged down, and all of a sudden you're like, I just want this, but I don't know if I want this. You start to sound like either a toddler or a hormonal teenager, right? Like really all over, up and down. And so really identify your needs. And like I said, there are so many other exercises and things we can talk to you guys about. We wish we could talk to you about, but it's really hard in a single episode. Right. There's only so much.
Reach out to us.
Shoot us a DM and share with us what your basic needs are. Like, maybe it's meditation, exercise. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's hiking, literally just buying the pair of Michael Jordan 11s that you truly, truly want. Whatever it is.
Maybe it's a new like lip gloss, or maybe it's just like, I don't know.
There's what so makes you happy? Determine it. Send us a DM. Most importantly, give us a 5-star rating on the show. Like, we would love to hear a review and a 5-star rating and truly understand and share this with your friends. Like, we'd love to understand what you guys are feeling like. And the only way we're going to know that is if you share with us. So we want to hear from you guys. Shoot us a DM at Fisco Frenzy, and obviously give us a 5-star review as well. This is going to help us grow this podcast so that more people like you, like us, can come together as a community and grow. Yeah.
And if you feel so inclined to post some thoughts on your Instagram stories about what this is for you, tag us. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah. And most importantly, before we end the show, don't forget, in order to portray your best self to your spouse and family, it's all about you. You can't truly love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. And you can't really love your family 100% either if you don't take care of and love yourself as well.
Yeah, the second great commandment, love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, if you don't love yourself, you're not going to be loving your neighbor.
Get rid of that stagnant water, dump it out, and get new water. And truly love people. Love yourself even more. So Thank you guys so much for listening to our podcast. We absolutely appreciate it. Cannot wait to hear from you guys. And thanks again for your 5-star review. You all have a fantastic week. Be happy, healthy, and safe. And we'll have another awesome episode next week.
Talk to you later.